great to see so many young people at Parliament today taking advantage of coming in and showing the rest of us how it's done. I've got my photograph taken with you earlier, and I'm really impressed with the work that you've been doing, so congratulations. In July 2011, the UK Government has committed itself to a global partnership to reach this further 9 million people who are still waiting treatment. This commitment comes at a historic moment, which was highlighted in the video that you've just seen, with new science and data now clearly showing for the first time that we can achieve an AIDS-free regeneration, perhaps within a decade. It was great to see the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, recently supporting this campaign and saying that this indeed could be a reality. And it is my hope that our government will also commit to this campaign. Is this then the beginning of the end of AIDS?
Hello, I'm Isaac Rodden from Christ College. What exactly are the people campaigning for prevention of HIV and AIDS and supporting it? What is the plan for advertisement against ignorance of which people have about the disease and their discrimination against people with it? Because not everyone knows about the severeness of people who know people, so relatives of the sufferers, and there's all the pain that people go through.
Thanks for those questions, and thanks, Nevin, for sort of what can we do to keep people at the table and to bring others to the table, because I think it is a very important question, and it was one that the board was clearly contemplating and faced with. I would argue that some of the things we've done already. So there were a number of governments that were saying, well, we need to be convinced that you are prepared to transform the governance of the Global Fund and its management in order for us to believe that you have the appropriate fiduciary controls and risk management mechanisms to put the money in. The board, in addition to cancelling round 11, did take those measures. It followed the recommendations of the high-level panel in many of them. It changed the governance structure with new committees. It brought in a general manager to do some of the adjustments and approved a comprehensive transformation plan for the Secretariat. So I think that's one thing that we need to go back to all those people that were saying that and say, you wanted it, it's been done. So in a way, I do react to when people say, well, we need to see that you're serious about it. Well, what else do you want to see? I mean, Germany has come back and said, okay, that's what we wanted to see. Here's the next tranche of money that we were holding back. The EU has initiated the process to also forward the money that it was sitting on. So I think that's one step, that we have made those changes. That was keeping people at the table but shy and quiet. Now they need to start moving on and really following up on the pledges that they had made. Personally, I think we should also do more in naming those that aren't following up on pledges, that have pledged and then are not sort of delivering, because it is extremely harmful, because you do generate expectations, you generate plans, countries, 90 countries were preparing round 11 grants. All that work has gone to waste now. That is because we had the expectation just 2 months ago that there was going to be money for around 11, and now there isn't. So we need to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I would argue that it doesn't then happen, and you sit at the board table as a donor when you haven't donated any money, of which there is a situation. So I think that's important to as a number one. The other issue, you've mentioned it yourself, I really think it's important that we provide loudspeakers for the countries to, for the affected countries to be able to document that and shout and be heard. MSF, I don't know if there's anybody from MSF here, but they've done
Yes.
a great report showing the impact on treatment in 9 Southern African, Eastern and Southern African countries. We're collecting sort of reports showing the impact, and we just need to do that better and more and make sure that nobody can say, yeah, you know what, there's a lot of money anyway, it doesn't really affect it, because it is having real effects on people. In terms of national governments, the other question, I think there are two different issues. One is middle income countries and then funding their own response, as well as moving into becoming donors for other countries. And maybe not donors in the traditional sense, but being able to share expertise, the way they've responded, and maybe some financial support. I'm looking forward to seeing that happening more, except for the case of Russia, because I think if it starts supporting other countries with its response, it's going to be a disaster in the rest of the region. So hopefully they stay domestically focused, but for the rest, I think we can see a lot of progress. But we need to, I think, as citizens of those countries, put pressure for that to happen. The same in recipient countries, but for heavily affected countries, there is no way that they can fund their response, and we need to accept that. It would mean 2-3% of their GNP. Even the UK would never put that money behind its AIDS response. Nobody would. It's impossible to see that. So they need to step up their contribution. But I would argue we need to think of solidarity not just as a national concept and sustainability as a national concept. There is an international solidarity of which the Global Fund was the best expression that needs to keep working for these two countries to be able to have a sustainable, predictable response. And on your question, it requires quite a long answer, but I'd say one thing maybe, and I'd like to hear your comments as well. My sense, having worked with a lot of young people, and when I was young as well, the biggest thing that you can do to fight stigma and discrimination is to talk to the people that you're pushing away, in a way, or that are being pushed away. Young people living with HIV have a critical role to play, I think, in breaking back stigma and discrimination. Young people coming from vulnerable groups that experience that discrimination because they're gay or for whatever reason have an important role to play, and they need to spearhead that. We can support them from behind, and I hope they will do that. But it really requires young people themselves as well to play a role.
I just support what O'Hara was saying. Particularly, I like the idea of the megaphone. You know, I think that's really, really important. I mean, we are working in partnership. We're working together, and it's really important. I think that we use everything we can in order to get to the voice of people who are living with HIV and AIDS, but actually not getting access to treatment, not getting access to the rights. It's going to get that voice up. And it's a real shame, I think, that unfortunately Minister left before we can hear you closely, and I wonder if we should just get people on a world tour of all the countries that I would like to go on.
This is my best job.
Is it? Okay. I mean, I think the issue of national governments is really important. I mean, this is a global issue, and therefore it's not just about one particular country. One of the things that we're doing in VSO is supporting national MPs, members of Parliament in national governments, in order that they can understand how to better use their skills to lobby and make a difference to policy. And in fact, a member of the House of Lords, Baroness Gay, went as a VSO volunteer and worked with parliamentarians across the SADC region in order to encourage and get them really, I suppose, learning set or whatever, to think about how to work with an HIV and AIDS back in their home parliaments, to think about how to lobby, how to put forward, how to use parliamentary process in order to put pressure on their own governments and hold governments to account. I think that kind of work is really important. It can be quite gritty. It's gritty at a different end, looking at the policy end of gritty as opposed to at the frontline service delivery gritty, but it's still a really important area of work. the question on the young people, I'm sorry if I talk about VSO, but it is what I do, it's what I'm passionate about. So. Alright, okay. But we have, I met recently in Manila in the Philippines, 9 young British people, aged between 18 and 22, who were working alongside 9 young Filipinos in Manila in order to go to a borough of Manila which was quite deprived and disadvantaged, in order to talk to them, develop a communication strategy, a way of engaging with those young people in order to spread the word about HIV and AIDS. As part of the International Citizen Service Scheme that the VSO is running in partnership with DFID. It's a really, really positive example. All of them are really fired up. All of them at the end of their 3-month volunteering are going to go back into their own communities, whether that's their own communities in the Philippines or their own communities in the UK, and continue that message. So I agree with Alvaro as well. There is nothing like getting out there and doing it yourself. Take it, this is personal. Take it personally and do something personal about it.
The official name. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Colton Edwards. I work in the Global Funds team, and like Alvaro, I'm a board member on the Global Fund. Just a couple of words about Global Fund. I mean, Alvaro was right. I mean, we really didn't want to be in the place we were in last week, making those kind of tough choices that we knew were going to hurt, that none of us wanted to make, that were going to be unpopular. But that's exactly where we were last week. We'd gone from a situation just 6 months ago where we thought we had 1.6 billion to spend on around 11. Then in September we thought we might have 800 million, but it would only be available in late 2013, and then just 2 weeks ago we thought we might have minus 600 million. So, it's difficult to make up the difference, that 2.2 billion change overnight. And a group of people had spent 2 months trying to look at how do we do this, how do we match demand and supply for money. And they came up with a whole package of things which they knew were going to be difficult, unpleasant, unpopular, and would hurt. I guess the only thing on that is to say, the only thing worse than making those decisions would have been to make no decision at all. And that would have kicked in all sorts of things that would have hurt even more. That's not to say that all funding from the fund has collapsed. I've already said, we think we're still going to sign grant agreements between 2011 and 2013 worth $10 billion. People will still receive treatments. Money will still flow. It's just, I think as a board we collectively felt that there was no point pursuing around 11 when there was no realistic prospect of getting new money before 2014. It just didn't seem to make sense. But that's where we were. I'm sorry the Minister isn't here to hear your kind words on Alvaro, because he has, and our ministers have worked hard to kind of support the fund, and they've certainly worked us hard to try and make that happen. And even though we didn't make the pledge last year at the pledging conference, we've still given £278 million to the fund since then. So it's ironic that although we didn't pledge, we've been probably one of the most reliable supporters of the fund since then. But you're right. We could still do that. But the fund as well, our ministers have said that they want to see how the reforms that have been decided are being implemented before they make a decision on what to do next. On a couple of the questions, the point about other countries, middle-income countries, making contributions, that is one of the reforms that we agreed previously, and it was reiterated in some of the solutions that we were trying to find last week as well. Upper middle-income countries will be expected to find 60% of the cost of the programs that the fund supports. Low-income countries will be expected to find just 5%. So we're trying very much to focus on the countries that need the support most. And the whole sort of set of eligibility criteria is to try and skew the money towards the countries with the greatest disease problems and towards the greatest the interventions that have the greatest impact. In terms of stemming the flow of disinvestment, we are at a critical junction, I think, within the local fund, and there are problems within the local fund, although I know probably more than we want to know about the problems in the local fund. But it's also a terrific opportunity for the fund to turn itself into an incredibly responsive, flexible, and impactful organisation. And I just hope that we are brave enough as the board and as stakeholders to grasp that opportunity. And at the end of the day, it has an opportunity to turn itself into a vehicle of choice for donor support to the community services. I think the reforms that were agreed, the steps that were taken last week, were really positive in terms of governance reforms, the consolidated transformation plan, the new strategy going forward. These are really, really, really important positive things that we've done. And hopefully it won't take too long before we see evidence that those improvements are actually being felt on the ground and being translated into actual behaviour changes on the ground. So it was pretty horrible last week, the sort of funding decisions that we had to take, but I'm pretty optimistic as well that organisation is transforming and it'll be better.
Respond to Isaac, because I can relate to Isaac. I think the important thing about stigma and discrimination is, all of us want to see ourselves as not at risk of contracting HIV ever in our lives. And the reality is, all of us, because we are sexual beings, the kids here but I'm going to talk about sex. And openly, and if parents are here, I'm sorry that I'll do it. We most of the times run away from personalizing the risk of HIV to a point where we think it is not me, it will never be me, it will be him and her and them, but not us. And the reason why there is still a lot of stigma around HIV is because it is a sexually transmitted disease. So many people, especially older ones and those that are older than us, think talking about sex is the most stable thing ever. And if you have sex, you're dating. You will get HIV because you sleep around. And the truth is, it's not many of the people that are getting infected with HIV who are extremely sexually active. There are people who, like all of us in this room, are just sexual beings. And sexual beings will have sex. And at some point you will have sex in your life. But don't wait until it's the right time. And because we don't talk openly about sex and what it means to have sex and how to have safe sex. And so when it happens that you would have had a sexual encounter, it's either you get a hard talking to from your mother, you get grounded for 2 weeks, you get all privileges taken away because you've done something very dirty. And so until we get to a point where we normalize it because it's normal, otherwise none of us would be here if sex was not normal. So definitely something is right about having sex. But it is about how we talk about it openly in a way that teaches us how to do it responsibly at the right time and having chosen how we want to do it properly. So that's my message to you. Ask me advice. So we'll talk about sex.
Also, if story that my friend from IABI here, I was with the International AIDS Vaccine Initiative, and what they do is fantastic. I went to a village in Uganda and we had a big campaign day on HIV. So we got the local fishermen and we had 2 boats and we had a race across Lake Victoria. Simple as that. It was during the school holidays, all the children were there. It was packed, there was thousands of them. But we also had a tent there with a doctor and a few nurses who were doing HIV tests. They were telling people about to not be frightened of the result they may get, telling them about the treatments available. We had a play, we had actors there doing a play about a young girl who was telling her parents that she was pregnant and she might be HIV positive. And it was a comedy play. This wasn't a big serious event. This was about making it accessible to people, telling them that it's okay, you have to come forward, know your status, and tell your family about that. So we have to look at every individual case, and